Hello, scribes! This video is to walk you through the steps of designing and painting Roman mosaics for charters and original awards. It includes some of my many learning moments so we can all learn together. First, we're going to attempt an arch using this beautiful arched twist from the floor of Irene residence in Plovdiv, Bulgaria. Getting started means a lot of measurements. 1 inch all around for the borders, and then my super specific measuring device for an outside arch. A compass would be better for this, of course, but I had this on hand and it was pretty perfect. Then radiating lines from the inside and measuring in from those to get the inner arch. Then finding the center point and making sure the ends of my arch end at the same place and have a level sort of ending spot. And tidying things up a bit too. Now we're getting into some of the more organic shapes of the twisted cords. As I'm doing this, trying to keep in mind that I know I want 3 strands within each of the bigger ones. Starting off, I'm just trying to get a feel of how big they'll need to be for the twists to fit within the arc space that I have created. Once I figured out how much space I would need in between each of the turns, I measured that same distance out all the way across the top of the arc so that I can make sure they're uniform distance apart. After that, I did the inside as well, so I could tell how far, because they're going to be more narrow, more close together on the inside. Once I had those measurements, I could continue twisting all the way around, keeping the same width of cord in each of the loops. On the cord and the border is this great triangle pattern, so I was able to add that into the corners of this piece. Then I'm going in around each of the strands to make that black border. There's a 1 tile black border going around each of the strands. The gold and the red are pretty similar in tone, so without that I think they'd be pretty hard to tell apart. This is really going to help with that. And then after that we're going to, you can see there that black band separating them, outlining them, going in, separating the strands into 3 parts. And now we can start inking in. These are these black bands here. And they seem like they were slightly smaller in tesseract size, the little mosaic tile pieces. And then the 3 strands of the tiles in each one of the bigger strands. And following the direction of the lines is what shows that that's one contiguous shape. And it helps with the flow of the strands as well. So you're following those outlines all the way around in 3 different pretty equal sized bands. You can see on the outside lines, since they're so small, I just did straight lines to differentiate the square tesserae, but the slightly larger ones I was able to curve the edges a little bit. They're not all perfectly equal squares. Most of them are pretty close to square shape. You do have some triangles occasionally, and you'll have keystones as you go around these corners, which are kind of like triangles with the one edge squared off, just to help them curve around in a pretty uniform way. This one is shown a little slower, so you can see how I put the squares in. Looking back, I probably would have tried to get all of them a little bit more uniform size throughout the piece, including the outlines, but I think it works still. Just curving off all the corners of each of the squares, making them mostly uniform, but each a little bit unique too. So basically, our ink is like the mortar of this piece. This is what we're seeing in between each of the tesserae. And sometimes there'll be like really tiny corners. That's all you'll see is just the black ink. And then in between each twist, there were usually 3 different square tile pieces, and the center one was white. So I'm just differentiating the 3 different pieces there. Here's a little bit closer in case You wanted to see how I was shaping things and the different size tile pieces. Once I'm done, I come back through and I make sure all my lines connect. This will be helpful for the painter because if the lines connect, once we get them printed, they will repel the paint a little bit and kind of contain each color in each individual square. And then a tidy up, get rid of all of those pencil marks. Then we're on to painting. Once you have your design completed and scanned in and sent in, it's really helpful to see what it looks like painted. Sometimes the design gets lost when there's no color added. So since you're the one who created it and know, like, you've got a picture in your mind's eye, this can be really helpful for other people who are going to come back and paint it later as well. I started out by painting all those dark black colored tesserae. Even though it's black, there's a lot of variation in the shade. So I started out with a light layer and then added in more layers to darken some. When I was finished with that, I went into this kind of earthy red color. And same thing for the outer line of the one strand is the darkest red color. And then after that, there's a lighter strand in the middle. And the same for the gold strand. It was darker on the outside, lighter in the middle. And then almost a white on the inside. I used a little bit of sort of like a gray-green color to differentiate some of the tesserae. You can see it at the end here. And we have a finished mosaic arch. I really liked how the different tone tiles complement each other and make it feel organic and warm and like they're just those stone tiles. I did one more sample mosaic based on the leaves in this image here, but I only have photos, so hopefully it still makes sense. We're going with the outlines, again with the borders, so we can really see which direction our tiles are going to be going. Filling in the centers, and then outlining in pen. Again, filling in. This one I left some space so it'd be more like a white mortar. Changing color can also help an image pop. Having the cooler tones in the background and the warm colors up front really make these leaves stand out, and the gradients are fun too. Yeah, I hope this helps. Please let me know if you have any questions, and happy mosaic making!